significance because they go higher in the world than most of us are able to. Therefore, came closer to God than the rest of us. And when it comes to jobs like this, the magic of their physical structure, which enables you to separate the veins like this, and then gently brush them back together, and they connect and hook onto each other again. It's just fantastic. All we need now is the bow.
Okay, yeah, it is just a little bit stiff there, Ray. Can you feel the stiffness in the middle of the bow?
This is at the crucial stage of the bow making now. Someone once described a bow as a stick that was 9/10 broken. All the magic is in that last little bit that you leave there. And as he pulls the bow, it needs to flex equally in all places on either side. If one area is weak or stiff, the load isn't evenly distributed, and that will tend to lead to the bow breaking.
Oh yeah.
Well, Chris, the thing that bothers me is that we've got a lot of stress involved and we've got no sapwood.
Yeah.
There is a very good chance, isn't there, that this could break. After all, the one we saw in the museum was broken.
Broken, yeah, I know. It's an experiment, and we've said this right from the offset. I've, been prepared to give it a go, the same as you. Let's just hope that it hangs together. Hopefully they did get some use out of the bow before it broke. Let's be positive.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Right then, Chris, what's the target?
Clump of ferns down there.
Alright, you're on.
Good shot.
Lovely. She's hard and fast, that does.
That's brilliant. I'm very impressed. Well, we get dinner with it, that's for sure.
Well, of course, that's what it meant. That's what it meant to the original maker. This wasn't a thing for recreation or a toy. This was a thing to stop the hungry child from crying.
Yeah.
It really is a forerunner of the longbow of the medieval period, isn't it? It's just a few thousand years later, our whole nation stood behind these pieces of yew.
And relied on that very weapon.
This is Shapwick Heath in Somerset. Ashcott Heath, where the original of this bow was found, is just across the marsh there. It's a fantastic environment to come to though. You don't often see a wetland habitat as rich as this one in Britain. There are lots of sedges, rushes, fantastic ferns here. But the real significance is that it's exactly this type of habitat that our ancestors would have used this bow to hunt through.
It's now illegal to bow hunt in Britain, but we can still explore with the eyes of a hunter. The forest edge gives you the advantage of preying on woodland animals coming to drink and waterfowl in the reeds. Butchered wild horse and boar remains were common, as well as great crested grebe and teal ducks, but above all they hunted deer. Away from the trees their prey were exposed and vulnerable to ambush from the bank, or from hunters in dugout canoes lurking on the water. With canoes and skin boats, Stone Age Britons could use the rivers as natural passageways through the dense forest, or venture further afield along the coast. Aboriginal Britons were nomads, following the deer as they migrated through the landscape and living off seasonal foods along the way.
The deer lived in loose herds, moving to the higher ground in summer. Our ancestors would have been expert trackers, versed in every detail of their prey's behaviour, just as I've seen among hunter-gatherer peoples in other parts of the world today.
One of the most profound things I've encountered amongst tribal peoples is their respect for the animals that they hunt. These things are treated with the greatest reverence. They really believe that they are brothers, they're cousins, with which we share our life, our time here on the planet Earth. And that's something I also feel deep inside. Some cultures believe that if you don't treat the animal with respect, then you have no luck as a hunter.
This roe deer was shot as part of a cull, and for our ancestors, a carcass like this was a precious prize.
The antlers up here are an incredibly important resource. These made needles, harpoon points, tools. The eye, the juice from the eyeball can be used as a glue. The bones themselves could be used. And the skin. Vitally important to make bedding, to make clothing, bags and ropes. The old flint tool does a beautiful job. It's just like a little razor blade. Fantastic tool for the task. Beautiful. You see how once you're in there and you're at work, you only really need to use your hand for this job. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to show you here the leg. Skin that back. This white line here is not bone, that's the tendon. It's an incredibly tough material. And these can be dried and then pounded to separate into their individual fibres, the sinews that are used as sewing material for sewing together clothing or any other job where you need a fine, strong thread. It's really fascinating, you know, when we use these fibres we're using the very strings, the very mechanisms that give the deer its agility, and that's why they're so strong. That's a beautiful piece of meat. That's going to cook absolutely deliciously. Fantastic. One of the problems that our Aboriginal ancestors had was that they didn't have a cooking pot for their joints of meat because they didn't have clay pots or metal ones at that period. They had to use their fire. Now to make an oven, what I've been doing here is I've been burning a fire for about an hour and a half into a hole in the ground which I've lined with flat rocks so that the rocks will become very hot, and I'm going to cook the meat in there. First job now is to open this pit up. There's a lot of heat comes out because the rocks are now white hot. This is that beautiful joint of venison. I'm going to put that straight on top of the hot rocks, like that. And I move these now on top and around. There's a nice big flat one there. You can see the meat shrinking away from them. This sort of cooking, you've got to have the right sort of ground. You would never want to do this on peat